Hey, what's up guys? My name is Siert Kanis and this is a tutorial for aetutsplus.com, and today we're going to take a look at this effect. Okay, I think you've already seen it. But anyway, okay, let's jump right in and create a new composition from this picture. This is the only thing we're going to use, only this picture. We're going to make this a video by moving it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is change the composition settings to something, yeah, like a film format like this. Okay, looks good. Okay, so we want to make this a moving picture. And you can do that by doing something like this, you know, moving it around, scale it up a little bit. Okay, we've got a moving picture. But this is not what we want. It doesn't look very natural. It looks just like a picture that has been moved. So what we're going to do is use the corner pin effect. And what this allows us to do is stretch out the bottom part of the picture so it looks like this has been shot out of a plane or something. So you will see what I mean. Okay, so let's add keyframes. Okay, so let's see. Here we've got our points. We can also scale it down a little bit just to see it better. Okay, so here we've got our points. So what we can do is drag this in to, let's say, -900 or something. Okay, so it's over here. Let's go to the end. And let's change this back to 0. So what you can see now is this point is moving and it's stretching out the bottom part. What we want to do as well is move this point. So it moves from this over here all the way to this. And I also added 900 over here, so the movement is the same. Okay, so what we've created now is this. Okay, so this looks much more natural than with the position keyframes, and that is because we're stretching out the bottom part. This cloud is closer to the plane than this horizon, so it should move faster than all those points. You see? So this looks much more natural. But if we look at the final result, it looks like the camera is orbiting a little bit. And how we can create that effect is by dropping this background into a new composition. And what we can do is, first of all, let's turn on this switch. So we still have some data over here. So what we can do to create that orb effect is add a position keyframe and try to keep this cloud into the center of the frame. So something like this, and we can also scale it up a little bit, something like this. Okay, so what you can see now is that it already starts to look like it's orbiting a little bit. You see? And to enhance that effect, we can also go into this composition and change the top as well. So instead of moving the bottom 2 points to the right, we're going to move the top 2 points to the left. So we start by going to the end of the composition and add this to -600. Okay, so we've got that movement, and we also want to change this to 600. So it's the same, and and add a keyframe here, something like this. Yes, okay. So if we go to this composition again, you can see we've got a pretty cool orb effect. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is create the plane in 3ds Max and bring it back into After Effects. Okay, so here we are in 3ds Max, and I've got this plane from this awesome website, artist3d.com, and you can just click on a model and download it like here, and bring it into 3ds Max, and you've got this. Pretty cool, it's free. So let's get started. Let's create a new camera from view. So here we've got our camera here. Okay, so what we want to do is create a very simple camera movement, just like the movement we've just created here in After Effects. So we want to simulate that movement. Okay, so here we've got our camera. Let's move it back a little bit. Okay, so here we've got our point of interest, and we can move that all the way up. Let's see, up to the plane. Here, yes. Stop, yes. Okay. So let's select Auto Key. Let's move it down a little bit, somewhere here. Let's go to the top view, we'll go to frame 73, and let's move the camera a little bit, yeah, somewhere over here, not too far, and let's go to the left and move it up again, something like this. Okay, so we've got a very simple camera movement right now that simulates the camera movement of the background picture we've made earlier. So now we can render this out and go back into After Effects. Okay, so here we are back in After Effects. That was the only thing we have done in 3ds Max. So for you guys who are not familiar with 3ds Max, it doesn't matter because it's only that easy. By the way, for lighting, you can just check out tutorials online for that. But for now, let's just go on and create a new composition from this plane we've just created. So we've got this movement. Let's bring this composition into composition we've created earlier. Let's fit to comp. Okay, so here we've got our plane. First of all, it doesn't look that good, and that's because the perspective doesn't match yet. So what we can do now is let's add a camera in After Effects, 50mm. That looks okay. And let's create a null object, a cam control, and let's parent this to the null object so we can move it around. The null object is just for, yeah, it's just an easy control to move the camera actually, so that's why we use that. What we can do is press P for position and add the camera movement. First let's make this a 3D layer and go into this composition and make this a 3D layer because this switch has been turned on, so that's why we have to go into this composition. Okay, so now we can add a simple camera movement, something like this. Go to the end of the composition and move it up a little bit. And by the way, this doesn't matter because we're going to change the aspect ratio later on. Okay, so it starts to look like something now. But still the perspective of the plane doesn't match. So what we can do is change the position of the plane a little bit from somewhere over here to maybe somewhere here. And now, like you can see, it looks a little bit better. You can play around with this as long as you want to make it perfect, but for now this looks pretty good. And we don't use any 3D matching of camera movement and stuff, just like this, because we've stretched out the background. So After Effects doesn't know there's any 3D going on. It's just an illusion. So we have to get on with that illusion and try to fix everything within that illusion. So like this plane, we're trying to make it look as best as possible. But it's not a perfect match, but that doesn't matter because the plane isn't really interacting with the environment, you know. It's just only in the sky. Okay, so let's go on to the next step. What I did was I created a sun because I thought this shot needed something more. And I used the optical flares plugin of videocopilot.net. You don't have to do this step, it's just I did it because it looks pretty cinematic. But I think a lot of people don't like flares a lot, but I don't care. Optical flares, and let's change this blending mode to screen so we can see it. We can create another flare by going into the light. And I used the real sun because it looks pretty natural in the final result. And we can also add a texture image, like a course, and you know, play around a little bit until this course looks like how we want it to look. So a little bit brighter. Make it like, just play around with these settings until it looks okay. Okay, so now we've got this, and what I want to do, optical flares, I want to create a light. So this looks okay, and the first thing we're going to do is change all those settings from accept lights on to off, so it doesn't affect our layers. So let's go into this composition, AA, and turn this off. So now the light isn't affecting any of our layers. And the next thing I want to do is change this setting to track lights. And what this allows us to do is move the light, and the optical flares will follow it automatically. So that's very useful. Now we can also animate the light a little bit because the background is moving a little bit. The camera is moving actually, and we want to keep this light on the same position. So somewhere here, and let's see. I think we can move it just a little bit over there. Let's change this to half. Okay, maybe a little bit further, somewhere over there. Okay, so now we've created a pretty cool sun, but it doesn't really look good yet. And that's because we have to match the lighting of the plane. So how we can do that is just by adding a curves effect to the plane and make it less contrasty, so it looks more in the sky. Something like this, like more misty. So it already looks better like this. You can play around with this as long as you want, but this looks much better. We can also add a color correction, a color grade. Once I bought the Filmagic Pro presets of videocompiler.net. You don't have to use any of these, but I used this one in the final result over here because this one looks pretty nice actually. If you lower the opacity, look, it has a pretty cool tone and nice feeling to the shot. Okay, so it looks better. Great. This is the light. So now we've got this, and we're almost there. What I did in the original result was I added a little glint over here of the sun, you see, and you can create that by duplicating the optical flares layer, Ctrl D, and turn this to 2D, and now you can just go into these options, change it around to like a sun digital or something, and you know, play around with the settings, animate the position X, Y, and the brightness, so you've got a cool flare going on. What we can do as well is make the sun a little bit brighter, so let's scale it up and make it a little bit brighter, something like this. Maybe too bright, to 30. So this looks pretty cool. And for the last thing, what I did was I added this aspect ratio, and what's cool about this is that it knows the height of your composition and calculates a new height, so it's perfectly 2.4 aspect ratio. So we've got this now, and it looks much more cinematic, and we also got rid of this little black hole over there. So we can turn this cam control off as well, and let's have a look. Okay, so here we've got our shot. The first thing I noticed that the plane is moving too fast, so press U and we can change this around a little bit so it's more subtle and more natural. Okay, so we've created this pretty cool shot. It's very easy actually, but all those simple things combined can create a pretty cool shot that can sell a story to the audience. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you found this tutorial useful. I hope you've learned some cool techniques to create shots like this. You can also use this to maybe make a boat in the ocean or something else. The only thing you need is something that isn't really interacting with the environment, because if it's interacting with the environment and you've got a real camera movement, for example, you need 3D tracking and stuff. But for this simple shot of only a plane, you don't need all that stuff, and you can just create it by using this illusion actually. So that's it. I am Sierk Canis, and this is a tutorial for AEtutsplus.com, and I hope to see you around again. Take care.